And today we have a very special guest, Pratim. I've actually spoke to Pratim last year as well regarding some of the episodes, and finally, we were able to actually get her on the Sister Talks. So today we will be talking about SurrealDB. But before we go ahead and talk about it, how are you, Jay and Pratim?
Go ahead, Pratim.
I am good. I'm actually excited about this talk today. And the first time I met Santosh was when Santosh had just sent out an invite to. He had invited all the community people from Pune, where we used to live, for
Right.
a dinner, I guess, and that was really amazing. Santosh has been very helpful. So that's how I met Santosh for the first time, and since then it's been a good time. And I'm looking forward to having just talking to everyone, talking to you folks about Saril Didi.
Nice.
How
Well,
about you?
you're luckier than me because I've never actually met Santosh.
Oh
We've
my
One
God.
no,
day,
we've always been
hopefully.
on the opposite sides of the world.
Yeah.
Although he is the one that got me into the GDE program, so I feel like I know him, but I don't actually know him. One day I will know him. I'm not sure when
I,
that day will be, but it'll come.
I'm the same person.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Excited to talk about SurrealDB. I honestly hadn't heard of it before today. I have the website up here, looking, just reading through all the, the buzzy marketing front page stuff. So I'm excited to learn about it.
Good. So, Pratim, would you like to introduce yourself before we go ahead and talk about SurrealDB?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. My name is Pratim, and I work as developer advocate with Surreal DB. Other than working full time as a developer advocate, you'll majorly find me just sharing tweets on Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time. If I'm not in gym, so it's either gym, Twitter, or working for Surreal DB. That's the three major things that I'm currently doing. And yeah, it's been a great time being in the tech, being a part of the tech community. It's been fun learning from different community leaders and looking forward to making sure that I can answer everyone's questions and whatever questions come up regarding open source, what SurrealDB does, and overall the tech ecosystem.
Nice. Okay, so what is SurrealDB then?
Yeah, I was expecting this question, so yeah. So Surreal, let's take an example of databases, right? SurrealDB is majorly a database, but for me to explain it in a proper way, all of us have that one database which we are very used to, which we normally use in most of our applications. But even then, we have always felt that, you know what, for example, if I've been using relational databases for a long time, but then if like you know what, this is one feature from like NoSQL which I would have really preferred having right now with while I'm using the database, or this feature from a time series database is something that could have really helped me while I'm going ahead with my particular database. So this is the essence of Surreal DB, that it's majorly all the best features of the databases that are currently present there combined into a single database. It's like the ultimate database that any developer would want to make sure that they can ship their applications faster and easier. So that's a two-sentence definition of Surreal DB.
Yeah, there's a lot on this webpage.
Yeah.
There's like a lot. Definitely can't get to all of it in a half hour, that's for sure. Holy.
I like that reaction, Jay.
Yeah. No, like
That's what we're planning to ship.
props, like seriously. In recent years, I feel like there's been a lot of these platforms, Surreal is one of them, that just kind of amalgamates all of the solutions, all of the tools that we had for the previous decade, like into a single tool, right? It was like they took all these very, fine grained, you use this to solve this problem, you use this to solve this problem, took all of those solutions and put it into one product. It's actually like just wild to
Yeah.
see. So props to the team for sure. So kind of building on that then, what's the one problem that Surreal is trying to solve? Like, is there one problem, or are you trying to be a one size fits all solution?
Well, first of all, this could be like a rhetorical question. Like, do you think there's only one problem that we have with databases? So
No.
Exactly. So there are a couple of, so when the project started, the founders noticed that there were a couple of, not couple, a lot of issues with the current way how we were developing applications, right? Some of them being, we, as you mentioned, that we have multiple applications, which multiple layers that we then put on top of our database layer to make sure
Mhm.
that the application is completely built. For example, we imagine we us having multiple APIs that take data from different data stores. Then you need to write a specific logic for each API to pull data from that, right? And it just doesn't stop at logic. You then have to have permissions. You then have to have and you also have some ORM application that will make sure that the client side is working properly. So before you ship the application, there are a lot of layers that come in between your database and your actual logic, the basic logic of your application. So the motive behind SurrealDB is to cut down on all these middle steps so that you can directly talk with the database, and the
Mhm.
database is so powerful that it can answer or answer all your requirements for anything that's required with these middle layers, basically. For example, permissions is something that is inbuilt in this database, so you do not have to have a third party permission solution. Another thing that I can tell is we all like how relational databases are set when it comes to the tables format, right? But at the same time, we hate joins. Joins can be
Mhm.
extremely complicating when you need to have that one particular data that you need. That's where what SurrealDB has done. It's given us the positive things of a schema full database, but at the same time you have the option of using it as schema less. So majorly making sure that you, as I mentioned earlier, you get the best of all the databases so that you can focus on the application. That is the motive with which SurrealDB was built, and that's what we are going ahead with.
That's cool.
What's your favorite feature that Surreal has? I know we said we're not just solving one problem. We're solving lots of problems. So what's your one favorite feature of Surreal?
So personally, I am still exploring SurrealDB a lot. Everyone is exploring. There's a lot of different things that you could do. As of now, I'm really having fun with the relate statement. So that we have a relate statement, which majorly will help you cut down on most of your reference tables that come up in a relational database. And if you're talking in terms of the graph database, relate statements are something that can act as links between your records. So I've
Mhm.
been currently having a lot of fun with relate statements, and I think that's my favorite area in terms of Surreal QL, the query language that we have.
So can you give us like a comparison to what a relate statement would be and something that people are normally aware of? Because I'm not aware of
Mhm.
relate existing anywhere else, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a Surreal thing.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
a Surreal thing. It is, and
What's the best comparison? I'm sure there isn't a one-to-one, obviously, but like, what's the best comparison that you can
yeah,
think of?
let's take the example of a user who buys a product, okay, who buys, for example, a MacBook. And if we think it in terms of a relational database, you would have a user table, you would have a product table which has like a MacBook, then you would have an order table, right? An order table which would then have an order ID. And then you would have another reference table which would have these IDs, like it would have an order ID, it would have a product ID, it would also then, you would use these IDs to then create a join to just see what user one bought. That is
Mhm.
basically what we're trying to pull, right? But in
Yeah.
Surreal world, with the help of a relate statement, you can easily write a single query that says user one bought item one. That's it. And that
Okay.
would, your bot, the relate bot would carry the whole relation between user one and the item. And then you can directly fetch the link, you can directly fetch bot as a query for like to just fetch the data about what has been bought.
So it's kind of like an implicit foreign key of of sorts,
um
or like an implicit join table that doesn't need
Yeah.
to be specified.
you can think of it in terms of the edge, a node and a link between two nodes. That's a
Yeah.
better way of imagining it.
Gotcha.
Basically, it's a Okay, so I'm still trying to figure it out. So is it a relational database? Is it a NoSQL? Is it a graph database? What is it?
It's all of them.
Is all of them.
Every single.
Oh,
It's a new SQL database where, as I
okay.
mentioned, it has the capabilities of a graph database. It has the capabilities of a document database. At the same time, you can make sure that these records. So record is a document kind of concept,
Yeah.
right? But you can have a table of these records. So at the same time, you have the relational vibe and feel also.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I mean, that should be very complicated. Now I can understand. I mean,
Well, if once you grasp and once you understand like how each statement is actually doing, I think it's going to be way more easier because you're not going to write these big joins that you normally have to. It's going to cut down on a lot of work and personally pain.
yeah, no, I'm talking about in terms of implementation
Yeah.
because combining all this into a single database, like it's a tedious task. I mean, I have worked on SQL and I know the pain which we have to go through in case you have a large relational database and you have a lot of queries running around. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but yeah, let's move on to next question.
Sure. So what are some other like I know there's lots of features obviously, so let's go with some like recently released features. What are some recently released features, and then what are some ones that are coming up that are really excited that you're really
So,
excited for? The team's really excited to like see the reaction for example.
yeah. Yeah. So currently, in terms of the features that we have, one of the features that we're going to have a release pretty soon in which the documentation is going to get better. We're going to add tutorials. There's going to be so the team is currently working on this the full text search feature also, where you can directly search for words from the database. That's one thing that the team is working on. But in terms of the features and how you can look at SurrealDB, SurrealDB can be used as an embedded database or like a traditional database also. You can use it as an in-memory database or as an disk database also. These are the kinds of features that you can get with SurrealDB. Other than that, again, as I mentioned, SurrealQL is a specific language that's based on SQL. So if you're coming from an SQL background, it's going to be easier for you to pick up SurrealQL.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, we have client libraries. We are also currently working on updating more client libraries, but the basic ones are already there. We have the server-side libraries out there,
Mhm.
and yeah, there are a plethora of features. If you go on the website, you will definitely find the whole list of
Mm-hmm.
features available.
The one I'm really excited for that I see a coming soon stamp on here is the Angular connector. Okay,
Yes,
so you have
yes,
Ember and React, but Angular and Vue are coming soon.
yes.
And then Python, C, Node.js, WebAssembly are all coming soon. Okay, so what's the difference between the Node.js and the JavaScript client
Yes,
libraries? Because there's
yes.
two different ones.
Yeah.
Wouldn't can JavaScript be used client and server side then, and Node.js is specifically just server side?
So I'm not sure about that, but I think the JavaScript one is on the server side, right?
Mm-hmm.
As of now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't explored the ones like where exactly you can use the JavaScript and Node ones, but we do have those set of client libraries available. And the coolest part is some of these were actually initiated by the community itself. So a huge chunk of contribution to SurrealDB has been done by the SurrealDB community way before it blew up and way before it like everyone now is crazy about SurrealDB. We also have like a playground a very amazing playground known as Surreal List, which has been created by one of our community members named Jules. That's really cool. So if you're just trying to play with SurrealDB, the queries, you can just go to surreallist.app and you can try out the queries.
Cool. I might need to build one for a Nest.js.
Oh, that would be great. So there is a question from Peter, so let's take that. So can you model an application using document, key value, and graph data into one database? So I think this is the same thing which we discussed, right? I mean, so he's also like, okay, how is that possible? So,
Well,
uh,
that's what I sort of understand, but it seems hard for me to reason about it. Peter, I would love to invite you on our Discord community. We have an amazing Discord community. You can ask questions about the source code or how SurrealDB was built. The team is very active. You can also our founders are also very active on Discord actually, but a lot of the concepts are built on the key value pairing, the concepts of key value pair. And as I mentioned, it also has the concepts of relational databases in terms of tables. But yeah, it is possible, and we are here today.
Cool. So syntax, we talked about the, it would be familiar for people, coming from like an SQL background. So
Yes.
why did the founding team or whoever built it's called SQL Cuban? Did I get that right? What's
Surreal
the
QL.
sorry?
Surreal QL.
That's the one. Yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah. Of course, not SQL. What was I going to ask now? Right. Oh, why did they build their own language instead of maybe extending the SQL language? I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, or why.
Well,
Maybe they just took the semantics and shared them. But I'm just curious what the thought process was there, if you're aware.
well, I can't exactly tell what was their exact thought process, but what I can say is because SurrealDB has more features than basic SQL, and also with SQL we wanted to joins is something that's not available in SurrealDB, right? So with SQL, while we wanted to have the same essence and flavor of SQL, we wanted to make sure that as it's a new database coming in with involvement of a graph concept, links, and relate statements, and all of that. So to make sure that we have a complete new, fresh layer, is why I think the team must have gone ahead uh, to build another query language.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
And probably it will be like really tedious to and really hard probably to like port all the SQL syntaxes, because you will be able to have a connector which you can connect on Angular,
Yeah.
Node SQL, and JavaScript. So I think that might be something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Santosh, do you have a question?
I was about to ask. I mean, how? So this SurrealDB is actually taking care of all the joins as we discussed, right? I mean, it is trying to avoid that complexity, but how does it scale? I mean, because of course, any database can work if I have like first 1,000 users or first 10,000 users, but once my data goes beyond like millions of records, that's where the problem is, right? Then you have to think about optimizing your queries, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so we of course I also worked in the e-commerce space, so we had like very large product base, so we always have to like go ahead and optimize your queries, make sure your procedures are like well optimized. You have foreign key, public key, sorry, what primary key for foreign keys and bunch of other keys.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is. So how does SurrealDB takes care of it?
Well, that's a very big question, to be honest, in terms of how the backend works. I don't think I am the right person to answer the question about how it happens on the backend. That's a question that I think my teammates, you and
Mhm.
Yusuke, or they would be able to answer in a better way. But as much as my knowledge, we do have a cloud version coming up soon, pretty soon, which would be taking care of bigger databases, bigger data stores coming in, and also the architecture has been built in a way. Toby has had an experience of a good amount of experience working on databases. He has done his masters on the complete area of databases, so he has made sure that scaling is not an issue when it comes to SurrealDB, and I think that's all I can tell in terms of the backend. But the documentation that's available has most of the details when it comes to how it has been built, what were the things that were taken into account while building SurrealDB.
That's cool. I mean, I'm really interested to know about that, because, of course, when once you have to scale the database, that's the where the problem is, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, yeah, Jay, yeah, over to you.
Yeah. Okay, so best place to get started. It sounded like you have a playground of some sort. Is that the
Yeah.
best way for new users to start playing around with it?
Well, to play around, yes, definitely. But just starting up a Surreal server is not that hard. Like it's just a single statement which you can hit in your terminal on a local host to just try and play around. On the website you will find a lot of content around. We are updating it every day. That's what the whole team is currently working on. But we have a blog, we have some, the basic starting getting started guide is pretty much there. So and we have some amazing videos that have been made by Fireship about SurrealDB and how you can get started with SurrealDB. So you can just Google, and I'm pretty sure you'll find a lot of content around how you can get started. But as I mentioned, the documentation and the website are the best place to get started.
I mean, if
Nice.
Fireship did a video for SurrealDB, it's already famous then.
3 videos, not one, but 3 videos.
Wow, that's cool.
Crazy. Maybe I am going to have to play around with this. See if I can build an SJS connector.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Surreal's all open source or mostly open source, or like what's the relationship with open source?
Yeah, Surreal is mostly open source, and we will be having a cloud version coming up, which would make sure that we can basically offer more features to enterprise customers out there. But it's available for anyone to contribute. As I mentioned, a lot of the initial code has come in from the community. The Discord server is the best place, and the GitHub issues is the best place to put in any issues that you have or raise any pull requests that you have in terms of new updates and features. But we also have a lot of socials. Like we have a Surreal events page where you can see all the social events that are coming up. We recently had a meetup in New York. We are planning multiple meetups in India and basically all around the world. So it's all open for the community and anyone who's planning to learn to build with SurrealDB.
Nice. That's amazing. I would assume the best place to go for learning resources is just the docs, the
Yes.
surrealdb.com/docs.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. We are getting close to the end, wrapping up. Is there anything else that you want to promote about Surreal, about events or content or anything else that you guys are all putting out?
Well, I just want everyone to check out SurrealDB, create their first small data, a small example, anything, learn some, have their hand on the query language and play around with SurrealDB, because that aha moment, like, oh, this is why SurrealDB is there, will come in only when you start using it or just play around the queries. I'm pretty sure with the third query that you put in, you're going to understand why SurrealDB is there and why developers are so crazy about SurrealDB. At this time, we have so much support from the community in terms of GitHub, Twitter, Discord. We currently have more than 18,000 stars on GitHub. And yeah, just check out SurrealDB. Whatever views you have, let us know. Always happy to iterate on it. And yeah, if you like the project, do give us a star. That is what helps us stay motivated and work towards a better product.
So just a question from my side, Pratim. So it's an open source project, and if in case someone is interested to contribute, what are the ways they can and how they can actually get the idea about like this project, right? I mean, is it a
Yeah.
Discord? Do you have Slack?
So our community is majorly based on Discord. So if you want to contribute, you can first definitely go on our GitHub, and then you can check out the project. If you find any features that you would want to contribute to, so the client libraries also is something that you can definitely contribute to. If anything that you think you can add value to, you can just create a pull request, you can create an issue, and you can also drop a message on the Discord. As I mentioned, the team is pretty active on Discord. So, and best thing about our Discord community is even before we reach out to answer the question, somebody from the community has already answered the question. So it's an amazing feeling to be in a healthy community.
That's where you want to be with the community for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, so we are done. I mean, so thanks again, Pratim, for like coming onto the show. And again, sorry for that. So sorry for the delay. There was some confusion, but it's yeah. But we would love to actually host you again in future. Probably the SurrealDB sounds really great. I mean,
Yeah.
the feature, the doc, as Jay mentioned, right? When I opened the doc, I was like, what? is it like really possible? I mean, so because I was really interested in about this scaling part, right? I mean, because it was mentioned that you don't have to worry about scaling, and I was like, wow, how is that possible? I mean, use any database, and you will of course get into some performance issues at some point of time, right? I mean, and that part is I'm really interested. Once you explore, just let us know. We would love to actually have you on the podcast and we talk about it.
Definitely. I think we can do another podcast where I can give a quick demo of SurrealDB, or I can always reach out to my team and see if I'm pretty sure Toby, the founding team, would be happy
Yeah,
to come on the podcast and give you a better demo.
that's cool. That's cool.
Love it.
That's great. Cool. And yeah, so thank you again, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we don't have anything planned yet for next week. I'm out, so probably Jay will host some, and yeah, we'll meet again in upcoming weeks. And thank you so much. Thank you, Pratim. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you so much, folks. It was
Bye,
amazing.
everyone.